Hey there! Just gonna wait for people to show up. We're gonna be doing a live here about the solar eclipse and how to ride this cosmic wave because it's a lot of energy. Okay, so you've been releasing from the lunar eclipse and you might be feeling a little gritty today. A lot of people were getting a hold of me with headaches and just a lot of energy coming in because you're releasing and we're widening our channels energetically in our systems, in our sympathetic nervous system, in our etheric fields to be able to take in a lot more. And one of the ways this is going to be a lot more comfortable is if you learn to shift your perspective. So super important. Wow, this is odd. I don't know what that... Oh, it's a reflection. Okay. Yeah, headaches today. You're an eclipse, baby. There you go. Yeah, your head hurts. I had a headache today too. Right? Hey there. How you doing? Hey. Good to see you guys. So yeah. So, and actually, even though it said UTC, obviously the alert came up for 7:30. I was prepared to just start a live stream anyway, but just so you know, if you can schedule lives on your TikToks, it says UTC, but it's working on your time zone. So there we go. That's exciting. Hey. Oh, thank you. My daughter does such a nice job. She is not a hairdresser or a stylist, but she's done it enough. She grew up watching YouTube videos and does an amazing job on her own. And since my hairstylist is off living the van lifestyle, I decided to pay my daughter to do it. And she does an amazing job. And you'll be able to see the blue. In the right light, you'll see all the blue in here. It's really pretty. So it's super cool. I did it during Mercury retrograde to prove you can change your appearance during Mercury retrograde, especially in Gemini. That has zero to do with appearance. I don't know who's spreading that information, but they don't know what they're talking about. That's not astrologically sound. So now Venus retrograde, you do want to be a little more careful on changing appearance because Venus rules those types of things. But Mercury is about the mind. It's about communication. It's about translating what's up here out of the mouth into the world. So schedule, snafu, especially in Gemini, because it's like a double whammy. It's scheduling snafus, it's texting the wrong person. You don't want to text some of those things incorrectly. And I was seeing somebody say today that, oh, you don't want to manifest because Mercury is retrograde and you won't be clear. I disagree because number one, I'm not going to do a double negative. We are always manifesting every moment of the day because thoughts become things. Okay. Everything you've ever thought becomes a thing, kind of. It doesn't, you don't manifest like negative intrusive thoughts, but negative intrusive thoughts can inhibit other things coming in. Because just think about it. If you're sitting there, and I've been there, by the way, with anxiety and depression. And when I was in those headspaces and really suffering, I couldn't see the opportunities in front of me. So consider that kind of a mental block to allowing things in. And with Mercury retrograde, we're able to assess our own mental habits, our own communication styles, sometimes where we bite off more than we can chew. Maybe we're committing and overcommitting. Maybe we're not committing enough to ourselves. Maybe we have stinking thinking about ourselves. And with the Mercury retrograde, combined with that lunar eclipse, because remember, we had the lunar eclipse, Mercury went retrograde. We've had a week or so of unpacking past habits, and you don't have to beat yourself up for them. That's counterproductive. You want to pay attention and go, oh, is that really true? That thing I think about myself, is it really true? All the way through. Is it true, or am I using it to maybe avoid doing this thing I'm afraid of? Think about that. Because the solar eclipse is going to move us all forward, and it moves us forward mentally. It moves us forward in the realm of ideas. It moves us forward in the realm of communication. It moves us forward up here because it's this that has all the power. Everything else comes from this. And so I I think a lot of people don't understand what the word intention actually means. I think they use the secondary definition, which is, well, I intended, which it usually means you didn't do it, like I meant to do it, that kind of thing. But it's like putting the attention and having a clarity, and being very clear. So like each one of these rings is set with intention. So I mentally set what goes into these. So, and everybody has a different way of expressing their intentions. But if you're not clear, it's going to be, you're going to get dragged forward, especially if you're not being helpful in your own self about yourself. You've got to be kinder with yourself. It's not about giving yourself excuses. It's just where you're really like mean to yourself is where things are really going to like get in the way of receiving one of the best ideas you've ever had, so that's some of what's up. So yeah, you're about to sign paperwork and start a new job that you've wanted for over a year. Is that bad? Notice you just said I've wanted it for over a year. You're completing something. You can complete something, and you just want to read over things very carefully. It might be that you go to hit send and it takes a while for the paperwork to go through. I mean, it's not the end of the world. What you don't want to do during a Mercury retrograde is meet somebody new that you've never talked to before. They tell you a great story and you make an agreement with them today. If you've been working on something, you're completing it. And completion can happen during Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of misunderstandings about that energy. It's when you're in metaphysics, like actual metaphysics, actual astrology, not popular astrology, there's a lot of, you have to refine your understanding and you really mince words because you understand the energy behind that. You understand the minutia, and it takes time and practice to get that. You've been energetically drained and putting it off. That could be, it's not so much, the drained energy is less Mercury retrograde and more Saturn retrograde. See, once Mercury goes direct, I think people are still going to be tired. We're being asked on all levels right now with Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and soon Jupiter retrograde to reframe our idea of reality because we have massive systemic change going on. 2020 was not a singular event. It was a gong that rang out waves of energy out into the future, causing massive systemic change, which means we all have to rework how we think about things, how we think about ourselves, how we communicate, having more emotional intelligence, which coincides with communications, listening more, detaching from this is the way things are. This is my reality. It's a hard and fast reality. Anything outside of that isn't okay. And we all have a bit of control freak in us. So the universe is saying, control freaks have got to let go. And I've been in that position many times in my life where you just got to let go. Got to let that shit go. And realize there are other pathways. Your ideas about success need to change. Doesn't mean you're giving up. It doesn't mean you're giving up at all. There's probably something way more fulfilling in line. More and more people, right, are realizing that. Hey there. Your abundance blocks have been coming up heavy, so you're writing out new beliefs. Exactly. Rewrite the story. Rewrite your story. And instead of focusing, so many people, like I work with hundreds of people, okay? And during times like this, even more, the schedule gets crazy. And so one of the things you need to understand is 90% of you are thinking more about what you don't want than what you do want. You're thinking, I don't want that shitty job anymore. I don't like the way my hair looks. I don't like my nose. I don't like these people I'm meeting. I don't like my car. I don't like this. I don't want this in my life. I'm tired of dysfunction. I'm tired of these. I'm tired of being codependent. I'm tired of being in pain. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Guess what? When you're there in the problem thinking, you're not thinking in the solution thinking. And what we know from neuroscience, let's take metaphysics out for a second. From a neuroscience point of view, your brain does what you tell it to do. But we're never taught that. We're taught needs improvement in school. We're taught they try to train us to sit in a 9 to 5 that kills us eventually. You know, trade your time for dollars. The one thing we can never get back is our time. And so we've been trained, oh, but if I get that really good job, then it'll be okay, right? Versus what fulfills me, what gives me energy, what inspires me, what. So all these people who don't fit into society, like neurodivergent people, they'll probably do, depending on functionality, of course, but they'll probably do better moving forward into the Pluto and Aquarius years than all the people who are really, really good at working within the system. It is time to be out of the box. In fact, it's a what box kind of time. And so now you're being pushed to go what box. And some of this is very simple adjustments. It does not have to be complex. You don't have to get to the root of it. You don't have to figure it out. It's like, instead of going, oh, I don't want this, what do you want? I want to feel ease. I want to feel alive. I want to feel happy. I want to laugh more. I want this in my life. And then start noticing when it shows up. And that's the next path. And that's what this eclipse is. It's asking us all to lighten the fuck up, first of all. It's asking us all to be more inventive. It's asking us all, and you'll see the area of life in your astrological chart. So it'll be the house where 19 degrees Gemini falls. And that's what's being activated. So if it's the first house, it's activating how you assert yourself in the world. So if you don't know anybody and you walk into a party, how are you walking into that room? It's asking you to do that a little bit differently, you know, looking with a different eye. Okay. If it's the second house, you're being asked to look a little differently at how you seek security and how you draw security to you. Third house, communications. How are you communicating? That would make you an Aries rising. So are you really needing to be right? Are you going to fight all the time? Are you using your words as weapons? How can you invite people more strategically? Because Aries, you know, God of War did not win on brute force. God of War won on strategy. Use the higher energies. Fourth house, changing up beliefs you got as a kid about you from your family. That's at the core of it. But it could also be renovating your house, fixing things that need to get fixed, looking at how you want your foundation to be now that you're an adult with a bank account and car keys. Okay. You have a lot more, even if bad things happened in the past, as an adult, you have agency over your life. You don't have that as a kid. Okay. But you do as an adult. So looking at what you want to do as an adult and not letting past experience govern your present and your future. That's a trick. I know. I've been there. Shitty childhood, off the chart shitty. Made world famous psychologists cry with my story. So it takes a minute to learn how to do this. You don't have to be perfect tomorrow in the morning to get this, okay? You don't. But if you just change a little bit, if you give yourself a little more grace, go easy on yourself a little bit more. That's going to make this energy easier and easier to receive, because the change is going to be put in your face. Just point blank. It's really neither good nor bad. It's how you choose to receive that energy that makes it either easier or harder, but change is coming. Hey, how you doing, Lou? Good to see you. So Gemini, Sag, Pisces, Virgo. There you go. So lots of change. You're welcome, guys. Yeah, lots of change. You got the internship. All right. It's just not for the position you were expecting, but you got it. Good job, you. See, there you go. Which sign? Well, obviously Gemini. And you can't say the most. You guys often I see this a lot. Who's more special? What is the hardest? Who does this impact the most? This impacts everybody. Number one, everybody has Gemini in their chart. Everybody. I don't care if the house is empty. It's Gemini energy. Okay? Mercury, you have. Mercury rules Gemini. You have Gemini in an area of life. Okay? And that's what the houses are. If you don't know what the houses are, what they mean, go to my blog and read the story of the houses. Okay? You can find the blog post in the link in my bio. So we have that. So Gemini placements it's a direct hit between 11 degrees and 27 degrees. So with 19 in the middle. So it's a direct hit for those placements. So like my Venus is getting it, just like the lunar eclipse hit my Mars. So, which made a lot of sense. It was just like, oh, this is exactly what I needed to liberate myself even further. Then I've liberated myself and move into the next steps. So the first is Gemini. The second would be Sagittarius because it's in opposition. The third would be Virgo because it's in a square, and squares are always creative aspects. Think about MacGyver. Think about, MacGyver. If you ever saw the show MacGyver would get in a pickle. He'd have he'd have to go into his pockets. He'd have some matches, some chewing gum, and a hairpin, and he would have to somehow create a flotation device, and he would come up with it. Okay, that's what a square does. And then we have the opposition, and it's a very similar thing. It's about creating another option. So because it's opposing energy, so it's asking you, this isn't working, so you have to produce a new energy. Whereas the square, you're creating a new option. Okay, so it's creative energy, whereas sextiles, trines are supportive aspects. So you have creative and supportive. I don't like malefic and benefic. I think that's very medieval thinking, and we don't live in the Middle Ages. I think it's very Hellenistic thinking. We don't live in Hellenistic times. We live now. We can move our consciousness forward. Just point blank. Yeah, your Gemini moon is getting hit. Yeah, so how you emotionally respond and react is going to get up leveled. Should you stay to yourself tomorrow? Yeah, I would, as much as possible. I mean, people are going to be reactive in general with this. You're going to see a lot of verbal altercations, people spouting off. But I wouldn't be afraid in the energy. Do be aware traffic's probably going to just suck balls tomorrow. It's just going to be bad because most people are very reactive. So when you look at mass consciousness, people just don't, they don't take a breath before they react. Okay, they just pop off instead of taking a moment, taking a breath, and then choosing how to respond to the situation. You can be angry and still choose your response, And in fact, you're more dangerous when you choose your response. Take it from a Scorpio rising. And so, when I'm angry, I don't yell. And I have a Sag Mars. I used to when I was young, but now when I'm really angry, I get very, very quiet. And I smile. And it usually means somebody's really screwed, but I take it deliberately. I don't just knee jerk. I'll think about it for a minute. And 90% of the time, if it doesn't need redress, I don't do anything about it. If it's just a personal, my ego's bruised, once I take a second, I'm like, that's just my ego. I'm just going to be like, whatever, I don't care what they think, and move on. If it's something really serious, then I deal with it. So that's important. Hi there. Hey, Francesca. Oh, cool. There you go. Whoop. Yeah, it is a hard thing to learn, and it takes a second. That's why I really suggest taking a deep breath. My kids could tell you, they joke, because I would sigh a lot when they were teenagers. I would be like, and so they both will do that to me when they look at me, and they're adults now. They'll be like, and I'm like, yeah, I did that so I don't kill you, so yeah. Well, it's in opposition to Sag. So it's, again, it's the same impact, as in, it's like Gemini is being like opened. Sag is also being opened, but it's more like a pry bar versus a kaboom. So you're being pried open to think differently, you know. And we're being asked to look at things in a more positive light. I'm not talking about bypassing. I'm not being a like love and light. No, 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 no. But really, if you're so focused on the problems and you cannot be solution oriented, life is just not going to be fun. It's just not. You've got to be more solution oriented. This time has been coming for a long time. We've been seeing it more and more, so it's time to be inventive. Saturn in Aquarius retrograde is telling us all that. That's why people are tired. It's the Saturn retrograde. It's Saturn retrograde. It's in Aquarius and it's retrograde, which makes it kind of like a double whammy Aquarius energy. So a little more like Uranus. And it's telling us all of the tried and true methods, all of the pathways we've done before, thinking it would work, needs to be reinvented. So that tiredness is coming in to stop us from hitting the old patterns. It's time to build new patterns. And so we need to, with this Mercury retrograde, ride the wave of looking at what can I tweak? Not how can I beat myself up? Not how can I not think about this shit? But what can I do to turn my attention closer to where I want to go and what I want to do, and get clear about what I do want to do. Okay, what structures I want to create. What is that sound? I don't know. Anyway, a lot of new opportunities seem on the horizon. I am sensing change in paths and cycles. Yeah, well, that's the eclipse heralds a massive doorway for change. Eclipses are always about change, and change can be either good or bad. It's kind of neither. It's inert, and it's how you ride that wave. People often go, oh no, squares. And square energy can be pressure, but that pressure is there to create things, right? So for Pisces and Virgos, you've got a square going on from the eclipse, but remember, from 11 to 27 degrees. So if your placements are before 11 degrees or after 27 degrees, it's a little, the impact is in general. You're being pushed to create something new, to seek a new solution, you know. So, and a lot of people have really overdeveloped ideas of this is how the world works or should work. And we're going to kind of force our agendas. And you see it across so many lines of thinking. And so it's about loosening some of that up and looking for new pathways. You can't keep trying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't work. So if you're tired of the results you're getting, then obviously something needs to change, and this energy is giving you the chance to do that. Learning to refine your thought process is really important. You know, again, when we're focusing more on what we don't want versus what we do want, it's hard to see the solutions. When we're focusing on problems, we can't see solutions. This energy is all demanding solution-oriented thoughts. And on an individual level, you can do that for yourself. It may mean you have to let go of stuff from the past, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical relationships or whatever. If the stuff loading you down, you need to turn your direction to where it can go. So, and it could be ideas, like, it could be your ideas about things. So like, maybe you have ideas about relationships or what it means to be in a relationship. And maybe those need to change. You know, like, why do you believe what you believe? Have you ever thought about it? Well, that's just how it is. That's just important to me. Why is it important to you? Why do you think it that way? What makes you think that's the way life is supposed to be? If you have a viewpoint of yourself, like how you're supposed to be in a relationship. Is it socio-cultural programming? Or is it really what you believe? Is it really what you think about yourself? Or is it what you think other people think about you? Are you putting your value out there for other people to assign your worth? Or are you assigning your own value, and how are you assigning it? And from what criteria? I know this sounds like really crazy making, but it uncrazies it. It gets things crystal clear. And so what I would do tonight before you go to bed is write down what you would like, including clarity. I would like a path of ease towards clarity is a perfect intention for tonight. Okay. Most times people are trying to manifest the physical outcome, but they don't want to do the work here to get to it. So the intentions and the intentionality I would have tonight would be, I want more clarity around my value. I want to have a better sense of communication with myself. I want to have more self-understanding. I want to understand my contribution to my own life. I want to understand where my agency is. Those are all really good intentions for tonight. You're welcome. I agreed to do something that I'm passionate about, but it terrifies you. Exactly. So what about it terrifies you? Does it really terrify you, or is it exciting you? If you're that passionate about it, does it really terrify you, or are you living in false humility because you were told not to be arrogant? And so many times, especially young women, get told, don't be arrogant when you're displaying confidence. There's a huge difference between arrogance and confidence. You know what you know what you know. That's confidence. Arrogance is just being puffed up with nothing to back it up. You know who taught me that? Muhammad Ali. When I was a little girl, my dad loved watching boxing, and Muhammad Ali was making his comeback. It was like the 1970s, and he won his match, and he was like, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. And there was a whole living room full of people, and there were some very racist comments made, but my dad shut them all up and said, you know what? He is the greatest. He has the belt to prove it. That's not arrogance. He's not out of line. He can back it up. And I remember in hearing my dad do that, I was like, I want to be like that. I want to feel that way. And I can honestly tell you, maybe in the last year I've felt that way, but it took a long time, because when I tried to put my confidence forth as a young woman at school, I'd be like, they'd tell me, don't, you're making other kids feel insecure. And I'm like, but I'm talking about what I do. I'm not saying they're bad. You know, I'm not saying they suck. It made no sense. And so when you can take responsibility and own your confidence and not dim your light, and especially women, and it with Mars still in Cancer, hello women. And I'm not saying guys are dog food. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying women have a further way to go. People from marginalized communities have a further way to go. If you're a cis white male, you don't have the same problems, okay? And if you're feeling victimized, you might want to think about that. So you can own more of your confidence and find it for real. So if you're fearing something that you love, if you're afraid to do it. Now, I'm not saying jump off a cliff and take a risk with no backup. No, I'm not saying doing foolish things, because again, it's Mercury. It's use your noodle, right? Right? There you go. I want to know my soul. That's great. So your soul in your body, though, because we live as souls in bodies, but we're taught not to feel our bodies. We're taught not to be in them. How many? Put a heart in the comments if you often feel like a meat puppet, like you're a marionette or a robot being led by something up here. Put a heart in the comments. It could be any color. I don't care. Make it a rainbow. It's Pride Month. There you go. You feel that way. You feel that way. Absolutely. Yeah, because we're not trained to be in the body. We're not supposed to get off this planet for a reward. We're here to embody spiritually in these bodies, okay? Bringing it in, feeling it all the way through. That's why it's hard to know what you want. That's why it's hard to feel into your feelings in your body. Okay, And that's what I do, like in spiritual coaching sessions. If you go to my website and you're wondering what a spiritual coaching session is, that's what I help people do, is feel into the body, to pay attention to the body. And the more you can breathe in, notice that long exhale. The more you can do that, the more you're centering in. And a lot of times we pop out because we've had trauma. I spent years getting into my body because my body did not feel like a safe place to be. Well, isn't that a great way to keep someone who's supposed to teach in the world from teaching and being in their purpose, right? So I had to move past that wounding and clean up and clear that wounding so that I could embody more and more of my soul to be of service on the planet. So same with you. All of you are born for these times, and all of you have had distraction from it, and you didn't do anything wrong. It's just kind of part of the game. We knew that. That's why we have guides to help us. Nobody's putting you through lessons and tests. You're not here to be tested. You're not here for the lessons. You're here for experiences. And you have a ton of encouragement coming to you from your guides, etc. Learning how to switch your mind, from which that's where magic comes from. It comes from inside of you. It doesn't come from a rock. Now, crystals do have energy vibrations, but your resonance with them are what makes things happen. The same with trees, the same with flowers, the same with other things, animals, nature spirits. It's all connected. And if you study quantum physics, it makes all the sense in the world. Okay? It makes all the sense in the world. So, yeah, you're here for experiences. You're a Taurus. How do you find out what's in your chart? If you go to my blog and read the lunar eclipse blog post, I have a link to my free class on info to the natal chart, and it'll walk you through making your natal chart and how to look at your chart. We're not really here to learn lessons. We're here for experiences, but we know we're healed. Like for me, I knew I was healed when I diagnosed healed. The last 5 years of my healing journey, I spent 25 years before that. It took 30 years. And I did a lot of modalities. There was a lot of different kinds of therapies. But in the last 5 years, I used an integrated method that I created for myself. And it took 5 years. And I had an official diagnosis at the beginning of the 5 years and at the end of the 5 years. And I came out with 0 clinical markers. So I knew without a shadow of a doubt, like now, if somebody says, well, they're just crazy, they went through trauma, I'm like, nope. Much like Sheldon Cooper, I've been tested. So I can say with clarity, 0 clinical markers. It means I have perfect mental wellness. I'm fine. That's how I knew. I knew because I could sleep at night. Unless there's like big energy like right now. So I'm up. And I'm also dealing with a lot of people. And I'm an introvert. So I need time alone. So a lot of times for me, the only time I get is around 11 o'clock at night. And then I'm up for a while just kind of being on my own energy. But when you don't dwell on the past anymore, when you start celebrating who you are more, when you stop assigning your value into other people's hands. And you know what? That's not about perfection. I'm not a better person than I was 20 years ago. I just have more peace. I can just feel my own acceptance of myself. I'm in a better headspace, but I'm not a better person. I was a good person. I've always been. So are you. You've never been a bad person. You've never been undeserving. You've never been unworthy. You just didn't know that you are. And there's a difference. And that kind of, you can feel robbed in that. But if we feel robbed in that, then we don't see where we can turn things around. So it's a process. Oh, I'm so glad Emmett enjoys. You're going to bed soon. You're welcome. You're welcome. It has been a busy few days. It's been crazy. Do take care, my dear. Hi, Emmett. Emmett is my friend Kirsten's grandbaby. So, but yeah, so does anybody have any other questions about this eclipse energy? It's ushering in, there's a lot of energy with this, just a lot. So let me see. Oh, I love you too, guys. My Aries sun is so emotional. How do you help? Well, it's okay to be emotional, first of all. So it's giving productive ways of working with it. If they're young, if they're really young, it's first of all not trying to suppress the feelings. You know, my son cried a lot. He was a Gemini with a Taurus rising, or is, and I let him be really emotional. I let him cry as much as he needed to cry. And when he got angry, which was rare because he's a Taurus rising, when he got angry, it was just about, okay, do something productive with the anger. Like, we don't get to destroy things, but I would make sure I wasn't reacting back. You know, that was really important. So when our kids are really emotional or having a moment, it's really important for us to be a calm and centering space and say, okay, you have those big feelings. You know, they have their own perspectives. And you can't rationalize with people when they're in the moment of an emotional experience. So you have to let people have their moment. It doesn't mean they get to do destructive things. And then when you talk about the feelings after the fact, you can say, hey, what happened? You know, you seemed frustrated. Is that how you actually felt? How did you feel? Letting kids talk about how they actually feel instead of telling them, wow, you were angry. Well, maybe they weren't angry. You know, I learned really early with my son. He's naturally emotionally intelligent, and I would say, it's okay, it's okay, and he'd say, it's not okay right now, because he didn't feel okay. And I'd be like, you're right, you don't feel okay right now. Okay, so how do you feel? You know, so letting kids process it is important. There's nothing wrong with being emotional. Emotions are not weakness. And that's something our society desperately needs to learn. And that's one of the things going forward is people need to learn emotional intelligence. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, everybody's manipulative. Everybody is. There isn't a person on the planet who isn't. Manipulative means to move with your hands. So everybody has their own agenda. It's just we don't like it when it's not in ours, right? So, yeah. Yeah, it's the lunar transits. It's the lunar transits. It was the balsamic moon because we're releasing energy to make way, and so channels are widening, especially if like aspirin wasn't really touching it. Now, granted, if it's really bad and you're having symptoms of other things, go get it checked out by a doctor. But if you're used to getting headaches during energy expansions, a lot of times your channels are getting widened. So, after a dark decade of depression, you feel brand new. Well, you come out the other side, Sag. Yeah. You come out the other side. History of migraines. I used to too when I was a kid. I had cluster headaches up until I was about 28. And I had them especially bad after I had my daughter when I was 24. And really awful. And when I went to the doctor, I was in Bahrain, and when I went to the doctor, he kicked everybody out and just had me and him there because there was no patient confidentiality, and I was married into a really powerful family there. And so I told him my story, and you know, because he asked, and he said, my dear, how can you not? You have the weight of the world on your shoulders. And so what he had me do was take acetaminophen 4 times a day and get a massage. He was like, you're going to go get a massage right now, and if your husband complains about the price, you send him to me. And so massage between massage, and I had cluster migraines so bad. I would literally say, just, you know, do me in. And so it was through massage, I swear to God, aromatherapy massage saved my life. Reflexology, and then acupuncture. But I have an old neck injury as well, and that tends to, if there's a lot of energy coming up and any resistance patterns with it to be released, I'll get stiff here and then it sends a headache. So I've been a little tender most of the day, and so there was aspirin and coffee, and here we go. So, and lidocaine, and icy hot with lidocaine. It's thebomb.com. So, yeah. You're always manifesting. So the people who say it's not understanding how manifestations work. So most people don't, I would say most people need to stop trying to manifest the way they're manifesting unless it works for them, because most people don't understand your thoughts are what manifest things. Now, thoughts, if you're having intrusive thoughts or negative thoughts, it doesn't mean you make a monster show up. Like if I'm thinking about a one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater, doesn't mean it's going to show up in my living room, right? But if I'm really worried about it and scared about it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop seeing opportunities around me, or I'm going to stop seeing where I'm safe, or I'm going to, so it'll stop you from what you actually want because your brain is focusing somewhere else, right? So metaphysics and neuroscience go hand in hand. We are spiritualized matter, and it's remembering that. So you can, but with this new moon, it's in Gemini. Gemini rules communications, thoughts, and ideas. Okay, so the manifestations I would work on are a clearer thought process, finding the right words, talking to myself better, understanding myself better, communicating better, being able to reframe my understanding of self better. Those would be the type of manifestations I would be doing, because they lead up to the kind of outcomes you're wanting, such as more money, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, and whatever, or them friend. Yeah. You're welcome, guys. You will not allow yourself to be negative during this time. So what are you going to allow? So but that's a negative statement. I will not allow myself to be negative during this time. You drop your coffee. Oh shit, God damn it. Why was I stupid? See? How about I'm going to be kinder to myself. I'm going to seek clarity. I'm going to allow in my very best thoughts about myself that I can manage in the moment, which could be if you're at a deficit, okay? So if you've ever had clinical depression, I have. When I was really in it, there was no thought of self. It was really gray and I was physically numb. So when I got out of that and I was in pain, I was often really cruel to myself, or I thought really mean thoughts about myself. Like, why can't I get it together? I'm always healing. There's always something wrong with me. Why the hell? Why the hell am I here? I don't want to be here. It was really hard. So guess what? Guess who couldn't find a pathway to healing? It was really hard when I was in that headspace, but slowly but surely. And it was really, honestly, it was between my garden and my kids, like, oh, I have my beautiful rosemary plant that I planted from seed and it's blooming today and it's really pretty. And then the moment I would put my attention on the rosemary plant, I'd get this idea of maybe I can heal. Maybe I need to find a better therapist. Maybe if I try this one thing, or I would notice something about myself that I could change in a moment, like just a little thing. And so I was isolated for 17 years before the pandemic. Like when the pandemic happened, I was just like, I've lived this. Are you kidding me? But that isolation also gave me time to learn deeply about not only the human condition and my own condition and healing, but deep metaphysical practices to complement the astrological knowledge. And so that's why I'm teaching this. And I used to think, well, I'll just keep it to myself because people won't get it, or they won't get me. See, those were negative thoughts as well. Like, most people listen to guys, they're not going to listen to me. Well, that didn't serve anybody, did it? So when I finally decided to start like teaching, because I saw a lot of really bad astrological information out there, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel really bad for these kids who are really not understanding what energetically is going on, and they're blaming themselves for their lives not being right where they want to be. They don't even understand they were sold a bill of goods. I can explain things so that they can understand, so they can be more gentle on themselves, because we really need them on the planet right now. And that's when I started blogging, because I was on Reddit and I was looking at all these young people just really going through it, and my heart was breaking for them. So that's why I started blogging about astrology. And I came on TikTok just because somebody wanted it banned, and I came on facetiously. But then I thought, oh gosh, those are where it is. Yes, 2020 really was a blessing. And I know it was a hard year, but I always say some of our hardest years are actually the most magical years. And who it was hardest for were people not used to being self-reflective. The people who are used to being self-reflected managed pretty well. But I just saw an article saying about 31% of people are willing to quit their jobs and work and look for alternative employment rather than go back to the office. We're looking at a massive societal change. We're going for quality of life. We're looking at the need to address climate change. We're looking at all of those things. And that means we have to think differently about everything. And each one of us in our own individual ways will have an emphasis. So yeah. Hey, thanks. Quarantine started the first day of your Saturn return. That's a very powerful year. I was really feeling it for you guys. You Saturn return babies during 2020. I was like, oh my God. You guys, you had to deal with Pluto and Jupiter. Are you kidding me? You are spiritual powerhouses. I was like, hats off, because that was intense energy. So just my honor to be in your presence, because woo, yeah, absolutely. Remote work is the future. It is. I will tell you, I ran my own business. I'm back to doing that now. But for years and years, I lived the laptop lifestyle before it was called the laptop lifestyle. I had clients all over the world. I built my own websites, and I could travel. And once cell phones, smartphones came around, then I could run my business off my phone. So I've been actively promoting remote processes. And I would talk to my friends in the corporate world. I'm like, if you guys aren't going remote, you guys are hosed. Because I did see 2020 coming. Obviously, as astrologers, we can look out as far as we can create a chart. And I knew systemic change was coming. I didn't see the pandemic, but I saw massive systemic change. And as a business consultant, instead of talking about astrology, what I would do is I would talk about, hey, change is coming and you need to be ready to meet that change. And I've been teaching about it for years. So in fact, if you go onto my YouTube channel, you'll see some old videos from 2018 where I'm talking about if you don't innovate, you're going to be left behind. And I'm not talking about ascension theory, because nobody truly gets left behind, but you're going to be running to catch up, certainly, if you don't give yourself some of the skills. And so just coming out astrologically, because I like astrology. I like business too. I like business and astrology. I like helping people self-actualize. To me, business is just another way of creating a life. That's just it. We should be doing things we love. We should live fulfilling lives. We have X amount of time on the planet, and we should be enjoying that. So, but in order to do that, we have to do mindset shifts. And I had to do it in mine. One of the best ways I grew was in creating my business. I started my first business with $30. $30. And bought a URL and learned how to build my own HTML website. That was 2005, and I was scared to death to spend that $30. It was money out of my grocery budget, and I had no idea what the outcome would be. And then later on, about 10 years later, I was signing a $5,000 check for something else, and I felt the same fear, and I started laughing, and I'm like, I felt exactly this afraid spending my first $30 on my business. I just don't know what the outcome is. you know? And so to go and understand those reactions was really, really important. Um, so, and of course, you win and you lose in life. You have moments where you're exhilarated, and you have moments where you're disappointed. In general, I like to try to keep it fairly even and know where things are coming from. So, and knowing yourself, that's what taught me. Like people ask me, how did you hit the ground running when TikTok started to grow? And I laughed and I said, because I've kind of been here before. It was somewhere else, it was something else. And I didn't know what to do with it then. I didn't know how. And that's what taught me how to meet this moment. So sometimes we have what can appear to be a failure, but it's getting us ready. It's teaching us what we need to know for something else. So instead of beating yourself up for failures, go like, what did I learn out of that? You know, and not be mean to yourself. Don't be mean to yourself. Just be like really honest. Like, what skills did I get out of it? What do I know now? If I was to do it over, how would I do it differently? What would I have ready? What do I know now I didn't know then? So that you're not limiting yourself. Yeah. Yeah, you feel the fear and do it. Yeah. How do you get to know yourself? That's a really good question. For me, it's been a lifelong quest to know myself. So when I was a little girl, I read a lot. I started reading really young, and the books I had available to me at home, other than the little kid books, were like the Transcendentalists, Thoreau and Emerson, and reading Walt Whitman poetry, etc. But astrology is one of the greatest tools I know of getting to know who you are. Your astrology chart is a two-dimensional representation of the 3D slice of time and space that makes up you. Okay? You never supersede your chart. I heard that Bruce Lipton likes to say that astrology doesn't impact you when you're self-actualized. Well, Bruce Lipton obviously isn't a metaphysician astrologer. Energy expresses itself in a multitude of layers. And so we have many ways we express the energy represented in the astrological chart. So when we work at our instinctual consciousness, it expresses a certain way. When we're at a transactional consciousness, which is a sociocultural programming, it expresses another way. By the way, we all have it. We never fully get rid of it. And when we're in a transcendent consciousness, which is self-actualizing, and notice I said self-actualizing, then we are because it never ends, by the way, then we're expressing it in a more responsive manner. I hate to say I'm more evolved, because I think we need to be really careful about not feeling superior, and understanding everybody's exactly where they need to be, where they are right now. Everybody's come for a range of experiences as a human being. The good, the bad, the ugly, the sweet, the bittersweet. We have a range of emotions, and we're here for that. And so you've got to be really gentle on yourself, and you can understand, you don't have to be codependent and be responsible for other people's feelings, but understand when people have feelings, and maybe they're strong feelings, or maybe they're belligerent, maybe they're ignorant. They all serve a purpose somehow. If sometimes we need that magnifier to on a problem to find a solution, so the solution thinkers get to the solution, and you might be one of those solution thinkers for that particular problem. So that's what's opening up now. Spirits in the spirit world. Oh, cool, you're excited about that. That's great. Well, our ego serves a purpose. Our ego serves a purpose. I don't believe you're ever meant to kill the ego. The ego serves a very important purpose. And I hate being called, I don't think I'm all that humble. I just try to be honest. And yeah, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment. It's always nice to have a compliment. But yeah, so it's in your 11th house. So you look, it doesn't have to rule the house. It's just where Gemini is. So the 11th house is groups, associations, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. It's where we do our goal setting. It's where we get inspired. So expect some really cool inspiration. Oh, I'm excited. Don't be nervous. It'll be good. I promise. Feel the excitement. Just be excited about it. I always give you a good pathway to work through stuff. Yeah. I've meditated since I was a kid. I do active meditation, but anymore, just through practice, I can center very quickly. Like one breath. One breath. It doesn't mean I don't have moments where I'm scattered or my energy's out or I'm grouchy. I've had grouchy days, but I can center and notice. I want you guys to notice. Look at my rings. I use tools. So I set intentions. All of this jewelry has a purpose. This is a nice big old hematite. And I got the hematite because of this energy coming in. So I was like, we will stay on the planet. But yeah, no. I trained myself through my breathing to be present. So, but yeah. It's one, I resonate with turquoise. You can look it up. I don't remember exactly what turquoise does. I know it's one of the protector stones, but I don't really pay attention to that. Hematite for me is very grounding. I have sodalite here. It's communication. So, which I'm already a communicator, but I'm wearing it on my left hand, notice. So I'm looking for communication to come to me. So. You know, having a lot of Scorpio is a great thing. Scorpio is about transcendence. It's about rebirthing. It's about regeneration. It's so, and resiliency doesn't mean strength. It doesn't mean you're strong. Resilience means the ability to come back, to reinvent, to keep coming back, to keep coming back. I'm a Scorpio rising, and I have Neptune in the first house. So you're just coming back. And my Venus is in the 8th house. It's in Gemini. So again, yeah, refining thoughts. I think really it's very important not to be super attached to your ideas. You know, it's important to be not be attached to ideas in a way that limits you right now. A lot of people like have ideas of this is how it should be. And a lot of times if you've left organized religion and you're now in part of the spiritual community, which I use in air quotes because it's not really a community. There are pockets of community, but it's a general umbrella. A lot of times what we're doing is we're bringing baggage with us when we leave organized religion. So you might have ideas about what's moral and immoral and what people should do or not. And maybe you're swinging in the opposite direction of how you were raised or how you grew up or the religious experiences you had. And then you want to evangelize the other way. I see a lot of people evangelizing in that process. And you don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to try to get people to think the same way as you. You don't have to try to prove them wrong. Now, if they're up in your face and they're up in your grill, you can whap them down, you know, but you don't have to do that. So, oh, I read everybody like a book, honey. Everybody's chart is being impacted by the eclipse. There isn't a person on the planet that isn't going to feel some kind of impact. Some people are going to feel it to a greater degree than another, but it is a change for everyone. Okay, so it's going to impact mass consciousness in a certain way, and it's going to impact us all in an individual way. So you look at where Gemini is in your chart and know that the eclipse is happening at 19 degrees. It's a new moon. It's a beginning of a new cycle, and it's going to be rapid change. Okay, so you look at that, and each house is an area of life. If you want to know more about the houses, click the link in my bio, go to my blog. Some of you will be having more rapid change than others. If you're looking for an astrological reading, please do feel free to go to the link in my bio and book a reading with me. Spiritual coaching is not an astrological reading. It's spiritual coaching. So if you have energy blocks, if you are trying to make these mindset switches and you're having difficulty and you feel like you need a little bit more support around that, that would be something. Other than that, the readings, the hour reading is going through your natal chart, the hidden treasures and the career life path. Those are ones where we look more in depth at sometimes more than one chart. Like sometimes we look at your natal chart. If you're older, like over 40, we look at the progress chart as well. We also look at timing of events. You can ask me questions like, when is a better time to do this or this? Especially, if you're looking like in the career and life path one, it's more about tangible things. So like, when is a good time to switch careers? When is it a good time to buy a house? More mundane things get asked in that one. The hidden treasures is more about spiritual purpose, spiritual path, but we can look at the mundane as well, because again, we're spiritualizing matter. Well, it doesn't always rule a house. If you use Placidus, it might be intercepted, but you'll have Gemini in your chart. And I highly recommend, even if you're a beginner, using Placidus, because it shows the environmental factors in your life, like how you grew up. And it shows where the emphasis on those areas of life is. So is it right now a bad time to sign a contract for work? Well, Mercury's retrograde. I mean, if you need the job and you need to start. It's more read through it carefully. And if you were if the process started before Mercury retrograde, then it's a completion. If you can still retain the job and wait, you can wait till July, but yeah, so do it if you need the job. Absolutely. Right? I did the nails because I knew my hair was getting dyed this week. My Libra moon does those things. I enjoy that. So I was like, I'm going to do my hair, my nails. My toes are blue too. The new moon is tomorrow. The solar eclipse is always a new moon. It's tomorrow morning. Early. And it's only going to be visible in like a very small sector of the world. I mean, like Northeast, in the US Northeast and Canada. It's really not visible most places because of where it's at. So, which is good, actually. It's good. Eclipses are not great to be visible. Thank you. Tired and fuzzy. Yeah. Depends on who you are on the changes. It depends on your chart. Everybody's going to have personal changes and then collectively. I've written about that on Patreon. And it just depends on the location, like every different place. But we'll see communication snafus. We've already been seeing some internet snafus out in the world. So I think we're going to see some, I think it's possible to see more hacking. I think we'll see more communication snafus on the negative side. I think because, again, when we look at the mundane, a lot of our governments have not enforced the improvements for infrastructure, and communication is such a huge part of our society that I think we're going to really see how very important it is. And so just be aware things might be glitchy because Mercury is retrograde. That's at the mundane level. So this is the predictive astrology. Hi, how are you? Yeah. But on an individual level, it's time to reframe how we think things are supposed to be. So like for me, I know Mercury is retrograde. I know there's the potential for glitches with my phone, glitches with connectivity. I know clients might have glitches with things. So if somebody's late, I'm going to wait more patiently. I give everything a little bit more padding. So if you're driving tomorrow and you have to like go into work, give yourself some extra time because traffic's probably going to suck. That's one of the big things. Change wise, we're looking at ideas and concepts changing. And that happens more drastically on a personal level, but we're going to see the narrative start changing politically in some way. It's right now we're seeing people talk out of both sides of their mouth. We'll see if that continues, but there's going to be a switch to the narrative as well. So I think, yeah, it's going to be, we're going to see it kind of transpire over the next 6 months. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, I've written about that on Patreon. You can find my links in my bio. So my patrons get every 2.5 days, they get a new forecast from the Astro Adventurer level up. And then everybody, in fact, I've taken it down off my website. You can no longer book Coffee with Laurie if you're not a patron. Just because people were getting confused, on my website and thinking it was an astrology reading, and I don't do astrology readings for $15. So now just patrons get Coffee with Laurie every other week. So this week is Cosmic Surfers and Living by Luna, which are classes. And then Coffee with Laurie is a Q&A where you guys, it's like this, except we're in a Zoom meeting and we can have a conversation. So it's easier. Every house has a sign, even if you don't have a placement there. Exactly. Right. So it's some big changes in concepts of your idea of partnership, what you want in a partnership, who you are in a partnership. There's some big reframes of maybe you were brought up to believe one thing and now you're actually going to be more authentic in who you want to be. Could be that. Right? Please make it. I thought I didn't get the job I wanted, but my boss sent me the text 5 times I didn't get it. Mercury retrograde. You got the job, Spencer. High five. Right. So if you need a job, don't worry about it being Mercury retrograde. It depends. Everybody's chart is different. So just go in with a positive mindset. If you need the job, don't go in from the need the job. Go in like feeling like you've got the job. Fear gets in the way, and we all feel fear. There's nothing wrong with having emotions. It's just understanding that fear gets in the way of us seeing opportunity, and it also robs us of the present moment. So just going in with a little more confidence really helps. It also helps you not get exploited. Because when people feel the desperation that you need a job, sometimes it really creates unfair working conditions for you. I've been in that position, and that doesn't feel very good. So go in with some confidence that you're deserving of a job. Yeah. Just be patient with it, so just be patient with it, make sure everything's plugged in, everything's charged, just do your due diligence. And if it drops, just log back in. Connections drop sometimes, so yeah. Yeah. So you've gotta deep breathe through it, stay as present as possible. Well, if you're looking for a new job, there's opportunities on the horizon with that. It doesn't mean you're losing this job that you've got. You could be looking for a new job, and that could be coming up. You probably want to make sure you're sleeping better. You definitely want to do some self-care. You need to be a little bit more physically active to burn off some of the nervous energy. That'll help. Because there's going to be a lot of energy coming in, and you want to make sure, that you're feeling tip-top shape. Make sure you're eating and drinking water. Yeah. Yeah. And changing up your routine as well. Making sure, if you're looking for a new job, look for something that satisfies your curiosity and interests. That's what you want to do. Yeah. So that's really important. So this is all about mindset. Mindset, 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 mindset. It's Gemini, you know. So Gemini energy is about ideas, thoughts, communication, transportation, things that get us around, how we communicate our needs. That's how we get our needs met. The first house is the physical body. The second house is how that physical body's needs are met. The third house is how we communicate those needs to be met for the physical body. Notice each house builds on itself. It's kind of like if you sew, it's like a backstitch or a chain stitch. Go read my blog post about the story of the houses, and that will tell you more about if something is going to happen in a house, that is the theme of it. So go to the story of the houses. It's a blog post. You can find the link in my bio. So yeah. So cool. And again, if you guys are needing like spiritual coaching around the energy changes, just know you could get that through my link in my bio as well. Or if you're looking for astrology readings, find that link in my bio. If you just want to have updates, Patreon's where you get it. So Chiron 23 degrees in your 9th house. Oh, that's exciting. So that's an illumination and a healing. So maybe some healing around educational matters or how you communicate with yourself, about your learning or travel. That's some good stuff. Learning how to speak more, speaking out more. It could be politics. So there's a whole lot there. You're welcome, Manic. Just another Manic Monday. I love that song. So, yes. Hang on, let me have a sip of coffee here. No bourbon. Damn it. So. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So, there was a time where I would have been like, oh, no, don't tell me. But now I'm just like, oh, thank you. My Libra moon likes my hair too. And my daughter's Libra moon, Mars and Jupiter did it. She's got such a good eye. I love this blue. Isn't that nice? Look at that. It's almost a perfect match. Right? Scorpio rising. Yes. Yes. Well, and it was a really good time to dye my hair black because I'm browned up from the sun. I know there's a lot of pink light coming in, but I don't tan. I just get darker. So I know. I purposely did that. Yeah. I did my mani-pedi on Friday. Just because I knew we'd be doing my hair. So thank you. Yeah. Having fun with it. Yeah. So this is really important energy. Yeah, my daughter's not a stylist. She just does her own hair and she does mine. But she doesn't want to be a stylist. So I just pay her to do my hair. So just because my hairdresser is living the van lifestyle. So I pay my daughter to do it now. Because she does such a great job on her own hair. And she never hurts my hair. My hair stays in really good condition. And I've worked really hard to keep my hair healthy. So. Oh, well then you're looking at career with the eclipse. One of your hands is blue and the other is yellow. That's awesome. My toes are blue. I'll show you guys. Let's see if I can do it. Look. Whoop, blue. Look at that. Not bad for 51. Still flexible. So. But yeah. So let's take a look. Let's see. So let's pull a couple cards talking about the eclipse. Hey, how you doing? Right? There you go. Yeah, boundaries are good. Boundaries are real good. I was really excited. Both my kids have great boundaries. I did not have any boundaries. I had to learn boundaries. But I wasn't allowed to have boundaries. So when I tried to set boundaries, it didn't work. So, growing up. So my kids, like my daughter, was born with natural boundaries. And my son, has really good boundaries too. And they're both really good at advocating for themselves. So it's super cool to see. Was I a perfect parent? Hell no. But it's really nice to see what they have that I didn't have. So that's really cool. I don't do numerology. My friend does, though, and she's extremely accurate. So I have one friend who has readings up on my website. I have another friend here. She's called the Numerology Lady. Her name is Nicole Cormier, or Cormier. She is exceptionally accurate. She's who I go to for numerology readings. Extremely accurate. So numerology is exceptionally accurate, but it shouldn't be blended with astrology per se. Okay, they're separate modalities. They often dovetail as far as like when I'm reading the events for a day and she's reading the numerology for the day, we'll come up with the same assessment. Okay, but they don't cross over. Too many people are mixing stuff up and not understanding how the metaphysics works. And so that's something I'm a real stickler about is people, if you're going to do something, do it, but don't make it convoluted. So, yeah, the numerology lady, really good friend of mine. Oh, I look forward to you there. Yeah. Yeah, she's great. She's great. So what do I got? Release. And that's it. Tonight, release. Finish releasing. And if you need to cry, that's okay. There's nothing weak in crying, okay? If you can't cry, that's okay. So go take a bath. Go do something that releases tension in the body. Because if you're not up for the eclipse, that's great. You don't have to be awake for it. You don't have to physically do anything to let things in. Just let the release go. Release the tension. Because other energy will be, kind of coming in. And then pay attention tomorrow. Pay attention to your ideas, your thoughts. Like, what's coming in? Like, if this crazy idea pops into your head, don't go, oh man, that's crazy. I don't want to think about that. It can be crazy good. Okay? Write that shit down. You're not going to remember it, so write it down. Early in the morning. However you best release tension. It's 8:42 right now. The fifth house is creative self-expression, is where we take risks. So yeah, I mean, if you're sexually active and you don't want to have a child, make sure you're using protection. That's all I have to say. And not just birth control. Make them wrap it before they tap it. Even if it doesn't feel good. If that's how you go. If you're into other, then don't worry about it. But if you can get pregnant, you can get very pregnant during this energy. So, if you don't want to be, it would be good to take precautions. Just saying. So, I was that mom who gave the sex talks. So, like, the kids who grew up around me were the only kids. My kids grew up in a rural area. And the only children who did not have babies, multiple babies, before the age of 20. It's like between 16 and 20, like 3 kids. The only ones that did not were the ones who were raised around me. So, yeah. Yeah. It was just like, oh my God. So, yeah, wrap it before they tap it. But you can't just expect a man to do that. You have to demand it. And if they say, no, baby, I don't like it, I don't like how it feels, then they don't get any. It's that simple. Because ultimately it's your body. And yes, my son got the same lecture my daughter did. And then as I told him, I said, you know how you get most viruses on your computer from watching porn? Guess how you get more viruses when you're having SIGs. So wrap it before you tap it. Yup, always. Yeah, no, boys and girls got my lectures. So, and trust me, that ended up with them being able to tell me anything. And there are things you do not want your adult children to tell you. I'm just saying. I'd be like, no, we don't need to communicate. They'd be like, no, you raised us to tell you anything. I'm like, no. There you go. Keep that in mind then. If you already have 4 boys, oh my. No, where it's transiting. It's not so much Mercury, it's where Gemini is. So it's the solar eclipse is the sun and moon in Gemini. So it's where the sun and moon are transiting. So it'll be the new moon, solar eclipse. And of course Mercury is in Gemini too. So they'll all, unless you have Gemini in more than one house, which that can happen, they should in general be in the same house. So like it's all hitting my 8th house. So yes, indeed. So again, I'm going to point you guys, if you want to know more about the houses, I wrote a blog post called The Story of the Houses, and it tells it very eloquently. 12th house is the unseen. It's the subconscious. It's also our connection to the divine. It is not technically the house of struggle. The reason it's called that is because when we disconnect ourselves from the knowledge that we are divine in nature, we are part of creation, we are a divine spark of creation, okay? We are all connected. Okay, but when we forget that, either through incarnation and amnesia or because we've had a lot of things happen, that's where the suffering comes in, because it's resisting the pull of the knowing that we all have in us that we're connected to more than us. Okay, some people call that God. Some people call it the goddess. Some people call it source. Some people call it whatever. I don't care what you call it. You need to know what you call it. You need to know what you believe. The only belief system I think that's dangerous is nihilism, because that's true suffering, but even atheists can believe in quantum physics, and science, and have a scientific perspective. And so when you recognize we're all made of atoms, and particles and subparticles and quarks and neutrinos and all that fun stuff, then we can operate from a different level. So it may illuminate, in the 12th house, it may illuminate some spiritual ideas. You might have a real spiritual experience. That would be the really cool thing. You might get some ideas or some messages come to you. Keep your eye out for symbols and messages to you, but also, and that would go for 8th house as well. 8th and 12th house, expect some phenomenon, some messages, some ideas, thoughts that pop into your head. There's a difference between you thinking a thought and a thought that pops in. So that's how that goes. So yeah. Yeah, it just depends. For Virgo, it just depends on what house it's in. So for Virgo, it's about losing the rigidity. Virgos are often attached to being right. So are Aquarians. You guys are all being asked to drop that shit. It's not about being right. Other people can be wrong. Let them be wrong. Virgo's about service. Ultimately, it's about healing. And at the very, very mundane level, it's the nitpickiness. But, be nitpicky in your own life. Organize your own self. But if other people are doing dumb shit, let them do dumb shit. Let it go. Yeah. Yeah. 10th house is calling. It's your calling. It's not just, most people's careers actually fall in their 6th house of their workaday life because most people really aren't in their calling. They have a job that pays reasonably well that they can somewhat identify with. That would be 6th house. Your calling is your passion. And you can be in your passion and in your own authority doing anything, you know? And so it doesn't matter, you know, it's your passion. And so I think it's misattributed as the house of career. Sometimes your career and your job are the same. So Gemini is communicating with authority. You know, people look to you to communicate. And you could be a writer, you know, or you're communicating, writing, presenting, speaking with that. So there you go. There you go. Letting go for you. That's good. Good for you. Oh, your website. Good for you, Earth Angel. Aquarius, Sun, and Moon with Virgo rising. Ha. Sorry for the evil laughter. Well, you gotta let go of having to be right. Reality isn't always what you think it is. It isn't always what it's made of. It's, you know, and if you actually look at what we've been taught is real, it's so illogical. I mean, when you think of it from, like, if you actually study science and you look at what people think life is real in our modern living, it makes no sense, especially if you've ever studied anthropology. It's like, we weren't designed to sit our asses in cubicles. That isn't civilized. That's actually dehumanizing. You know, there's nothing natural about that. There's nothing civilized about that. There's nothing to aspire to in that. So that reality has to shift. What I get. Balance. Balance. It's a balance. Isn't that a beautiful card? I love these cards. I love these cards so much. This is the Vintage Wisdom Oracle deck, by the way. Yeah. Not me calling you out. Everybody feels called out. I've been doing this for so long, hon. It's like, it's not personal on my end, but I would rather you have the truth so that you can make adjustments and live your very best life. You know, it's so important. Take it, run with it. Okay. The more people who are living in their joy, living in their purpose, living in their passions, living abundantly, and understanding what abundance actually means to you. For me, abundance is peace. I have an abundant amount of peace. I have an abundant amount of beautiful relationships. I have so many wonderful friends across the world. You know, beautiful friendships. Some I've had forever and some are relatively new in my life. I have increasingly gained more and more skill over time because I'm blessed with focus. So notice it's talking in the very present. I am blessed with this. I have this. And it's the confidence. Notice I'm not declaring it to convince myself. I'm speaking things that I know are true. If that's how you speak with intention. It's knowing your truth and speaking the truth for yourself, not for anybody else. Nobody else needs to know what you want in life except you. You need to know that. Yeah. Hi, Frenchie. Beauty. Find the beauty. And find the beauty in yourself. Stop waiting for other people to tell you. Find it in you. You know? And that starts with acceptance. I was talking about that just a little bit ago. If you go to my blog and you read the story of the houses, that'll give you an insight on it. You'll probably look forward to some, like I said, 8th and 12th house will have some metaphysical, probably some insights, some messages. Keep your eye out for messages. They'll be subtle. You know, they may be flashes of insight, flashes of thought. Pay attention to those. Write those down. You might have some funky dreams tonight. Because it's going to be happening while a lot of people are asleep on the West Coast. So, yeah. Hi, Cynthia. Yeah. So, this is about reframing how we see our lives, how we communicate our reality to ourselves. It's all about that. You can read more about it on my blog, and if you're on Patreon, go look at the latest post. So, well, not the latest because that was about this, but the second post from this. So, because I put up a live that I was going live. So make sure you go, if you go onto Patreon at the Astro Adventurer level and higher, every 2.5 days I give astrological forecasts with the lunar transits and the current astrological weather. I talk about the mass consciousness, so what happens out in the world, politically, financially, etc. And then I give the rising sign horoscopes and tips and tricks on a personal level of how to deal with the energy, because the two are different consciousnesses. You can always make moon water, but just understand this is very fast energy. So you'll want to be intentional with it. What are you using it for? Make sure you know, write it down. But it'll improve communication. It'll open up communication blocks. Very powerful, very powerful. So I'd make moon water. First of all, even though astrology will give you suggestions on what to do during certain energy, but anybody who says you can't do this, they're full of shit. You can always do something. It may be the worst timing ever. It might not work out, but you can still do it. So, moon water is where you charge water under a new or full moon. And people who do spell work use it in spells. I used to use moon water to make crystal essences. So you know how there's flower essences? I used to make crystal essences with moon water. That was 20 some years ago. So I don't do ritual spell work. I just use my mind. So I'm going to talk more about Mars and Leo later. We need to keep our mind at the present moment right now. That's really important. So right now we're looking at the eclipse. Mars and Leo happens later. So I'll do not a blog post, but I'll be talking about that on my podcast. I keep forgetting to tell you guys about my podcast. My podcast is Me Unfiltered, first of all. So if you want to listen to Laurie Unfiltered, there's my podcast. I'll be talking about Mars and Leo and all of that on my podcast. I'll write about it on Patreon. I don't think I'm going to write about it on my blog. It just depends on what's going on. But yeah, so because we also have Venus entering, ingressing into Leo as well. So Mars does it next week, and then the 14th. I know I wrote about it a little bit. I put the June lineup on my Patreon. So then on the 27th, Venus ingresses as well. So we'll have Venus and Mars in Leo, which definitely means that people are gonna have fun. It'll be a hot girl summer for sure. We'll all feel hot. We'll all feel better being out. But I think we need to be careful as well. There's going to be big, bold actions. I think we need to be really careful. Jupiter is in Pisces, and I know a lot of people think that's a good thing, but it's also a great time to spread disease. And I think we can see more than just COVID. I think we can look at colds and flus, etc. And I think we do need to be mindful. So do wear your masks. I don't care what the CDC has to say. Remember, even if you're vaccinated, you can still get the virus. It just prevents serious complications. So I will be wearing my mask, because the transits in the fall lead me to believe it's not going to be as fun. So, but the summer can be fun. You just want to use your common sense. So, yeah, we all need fun. Yeah, stay in the present. Stay in the present. You want to stay in the tomorrow, especially. You want to stay really, really present. Really present. Bring yourself to this moment now, this moment now, this moment now. Because honestly, the only thing you ever have is this moment. You never really live in the past, and you never live in the future. You're only living in the moment. Only living in the moment. This moment, right now. And then this one. And this one. This is where everything happens. This is right here. It's not happening out there. So it's happening right now. And every decision you make in this moment is what builds that. And it can heal that. But you don't need to look over your shoulder. If you're running a race and you're doing this, you're going to trip and fall. You know, you look forward, be present. Pay attention where you're at right now. Yeah, I think STIs may be an issue. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you use protection. There's a lot of players out there. You got to be careful. Both men and women. I always ask, when I go out on a first date with someone, I ask them to tell me their weirdest dating stories. Like, tell me your weirdest dating stories. And I've heard some doozies. So, yeah. I already talked about the houses. Yeah. So, fourth house, if you go to the link in my bio and you read the story of the houses, that'll give you a clear idea of what that house means. In Gemini, you know, it's all about communication. Okay. And if you have a fourth house in Gemini, you probably grew up in more than one home. You might have had an extended family. You spent a lot of time with relatives. You may not have had a single, like just one little nuclear family. So it's healing around that. It's having new ideas and new ways of communicating. Anything you picked up from the past about yourself, from your family, you'll be like able to reframe that. And looking also at like redecorating your home or fixing up your home or dealing with repairs, etc., or moving. Maybe that. So again, go to my blog, read the story of the houses for more information. So let me take a look. Okay, well, happy birthday coming up. You don't have to have Gemini placements to have the eclipse have an impact on your chart. Everybody has Gemini in their chart. There's no such thing as an empty house. It may look empty, but it's not. So wherever Gemini is in your chart, the eclipse is illuminating that area. So I don't know why this information has been so skewed online, but it's one of the reasons I came out very vocally last year as an astrologer. So, and as a master astrologer, I can tell you it's serious that, you know, because, and that just means I teach it. Okay. It's important to understand that there's no emptiness in your houses. Everybody has all signs. You don't have to have a placement to have the impact. Okay. If you don't have any placements in your first house, you still have a physical body. If you don't have any placements in the second house, you still deal with money. If you don't have any placements in the third house, you still deal with communication and transportation. In the fourth house, you still have somewhere you live or did live or will live. Fifth house, you still take risks. You put yourself out there, or you create things in some way that could lead to rejection, basically is what the fifth house is about. Sixth house is work, health, and service. We all either, you know, we all have health. We all deal some way with work in the world. Even if we go through unemployment, we still have a daily routine. Seventh house, we still have relationships, one-on-one relationships that have agreements with people. It doesn't mean we get married. It means we have one-on-one relationships that have an agreement. That could be a best friend. It could be platonic. It could be a business partner. And yes, it can be marriage. Eighth house is we all have things that transform us, whether it's loved ones who pass on or inheritance of family patterns that we transmute and transform from, or legacies we inherit, or magic that we go find and create for ourselves. That's all eighth house. Ninth house is all about expansion. We all have ways we expand from how we were raised. 10th house, we all have passions and callings and our own authority and how people see us when we're in a role of authority. We all have hopes, dreams, aspirations, groups, and networks and community. That's the 11th house. We all have a connection to the divine or the spiritual in some way. And we also have deep-seated rooted fears that if we act on those, they cut us off and isolate us. So that's the wheel in general. So I love you too, Truth Brush. So you're welcome. I missed that. User, sorry. No, do you think the universe only gives you signs when something's in good alignment for you? I've had warnings. I get warnings, I get messages, if you're in tune and in flow with the universe, you're part of the universe. So thank you for the question. We can get all kinds of things. My dog warns me all the time energetically if there's something not right. And he'll also get really excited when something's really good. I get messages in nature all the time. So I go sit out back. Birds will show up. Today I had a goldfinch sit right next to me eating seeds, like for 20 minutes. He just sat there, just hopping branches, eating fluffy seeds. It was beautiful. Sometimes it's hawks, sometimes it's ravens. It just depends. And how do I know what it means? I feel into it. It's learning to trust your knowing and not be afraid of it. Hi, I'm good. How are you? Yeah. I'm actually tired, to be honest. I'm going to have to close this out here because I need to eat and I haven't eaten. It's been a crazy day. I've been running all day. Oh, see? The birds help you get up. You don't have to focus on any of your placements. Your placements express themselves. They're part of who you are. You don't work with your planet. It's understanding what that energy means. So go to my blog, read up on the planets. That's my very first blog post, I believe. It was an astrological cheat sheet. I have another astrological cheat sheet that you can buy off my website or you get for free as a patron. Called the Ultimate Astrological Cheat Sheet. And I have another one on instinct and intuition, and it shows where to find your gifts in your natal chart. So I'm talking about psychic gifts or intuitive gifts, however you want to call it. And so you can get those as a patron. And then, or you can just, if you don't want to be a patron, you can get them straight off my website. You can buy them there. So. Oh, no. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so it's how that energy expresses with you. Like you probably have big bold actions and you probably pack a wallop. You got a lot of strong energy there. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for coming to the live stream. It's now 9:07 and I need to go eat. So thank you so much. I just adore all of you, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you're a patron, make sure you're in the Discord server. If you need support, we're building a great community. I'm so excited. I don't have to prompt the conversations. People are just there supporting one another, asking for support. It's such a great community building, and that makes my heart happy. I do have an 11th house Libra moon, so wherever there is community, I am a happy, happy camper. So it's made my heart so happy. That's one of my ambitions coming true, is having just this beautiful community. So remember, if you are a patron and you're not coming into the Discord, don't be shy. Okay, much love, you guys. Talk to you later. You're so